প্রিয় দর্শক সবাইকে স্বাগত জানাচ্ছি TBN 24 টেলিভিশন আয়োজিত বিশেষ অনুষ্ঠান TBN Special। আমি হাবিব রহমান আছি আপনাদের সাথে। আজ আমাদের সাথে আছেন একজন বিশেষ অতিথি। ইতিপূর্বে বেশ কয়েকবার আপনারা তাকে দেখেছেন, কুইন্স ডিস্ট্রিক্ট অ্যাটর্নি Melinda Katz. Melinda Katz, thank you for your time. As usual, it's been a while that we spoke last.
Yes,
over a year, and your engagement, your commitment to the community, your commitment to fight off the crime, your commitment with everybody else, it's been awesome, phenomenal. We appreciate this. Our viewers love you, as you might already know. So there are quite a few things that came in the current context of the things going on that I would like to know from you. I'm sure our viewers would love to hear from you. So let's start off the easy topic. You've been in the office for 4 years?
I have.
You have. Let's talk about public safety. What you have been doing has, especially your office and with your leadership, and has the crime went up or has gone down?
So first of all, let me thank TBN 24 for the work that they do. I can only do what I do with the faith of the community that I serve. And I serve, and that's what I do every day. As your viewers know, I've sent more people into the community, hired people that are part of the community so that they can get our message out. And most importantly, not that we can get our message out, but so that they can get messages to me.
Right.
So when it comes to issues of domestic violence and robberies and assaults or hate crimes,
Right.
that they know that our office is open to them. And only with local media and media like TBN 24
Right.
can we get that message out to people in folks' homes.
Right. And that is important, what you just mentioned, that a local television, especially get towards the community, really get the message out, which happens seldom. I mean, big medias are busy with international things.
Right.
And we know what's happening on an international front, so that's a concern. Of course, that's a big concern. It also affects our life. We'll talk about that briefly, maybe, if possible. But let's come back to the crime part of it.
Sure.
Since you took office, has the crime gone up or down? And if many say, and the stat tells us that it has been gradually going down. So what you have been doing, especially, that is contributing to this going downwards trend?
So first, your viewers must remember that I became the district attorney during COVID.
Correct.
So I became the DA in January of 2020. And by March, the entire world shut down.
Of course.
So our stats are a little bit skewed from when I became the DA as opposed to like last year. Mm-hmm. So I can tell you that since last year, citywide, murder has gone down 11%. In Queens County, murder has gone down 58%. In Queens County. Citywide, shootings have gone down 24%. Citywide. In Queens County, they've gone down 38%. So what we're doing is we are holding people accountable. If they are caught with weapons or guns or there are assaults or violent crimes, we are certainly keeping people accountable and holding them accountable. And I think that's extremely important when it comes to safety. People need to know, and your viewers need to know, that when someone is caught with those types of crimes, like assault or like gun possession or deadly weapon possession, that they'll be held accountable for it and that we will prosecute for it.
Right. And I'm gonna circle back on this one a little bit later because I may have a question or two towards the end.
Sure.
Of wrongful conviction and how to overturn those things and what your office is doing. But let's continue on this one. What your office you especially have been doing on criminal gangs and trafficking rings. Let's talk about that specific part.
There are two types of guns that are out there, and I know a lot of your viewers are hearing about the two different types of guns, but if I may, there are iron guns, the guns that you buy in a store that are iron, right? They're metal, metal detectors will set them off. Old movies, things like those types of guns. There is now something called ghost guns, which a lot of your viewers are hearing about.
Yeah, we have been hearing about this, but there's no clear conception of what it means.
So ghost guns are those types of guns that can be bought off the internet in pieces.
Really?
So in other words, there are about 100 vendors across the country that you can buy a barrel from one of the guns, a lower receiver, like a plastic cutout of a gun.
Yeah.
And it's important to note that they are not metal. They are ghost guns, so they are laminar, they're called. So they're plastic. So they might not go off at a metal, they will not go off during a metal detector. And they are built. So they used to be that you could only get certain pieces of them across the internet. Now you can literally buy packages from some stores and they'll send you a whole package. And for 30 minutes on a YouTube video in the basement of your home, you can actually build these ghost guns. And they are becoming much more used in crimes. So I rob someone, I assault someone, I shoot someone, I burglarize their home, which I may or may not have a weapon for, but they are being used in more crimes. So there's two types of guns. As far as gun trafficking rings go, so the iron guns, those that are bought in Virginia and North Carolina and South Carolina, and they're bought easily off the internet, they are trafficked up the iron pipeline, which is the east coast of the United States. And they are sold in our borough to our children here in Queens County. Those are trafficking rings that we find, we prosecute, and we take them down. We hear that someone has a gun, we do a warrant, we go into the house, we find the guns, we investigate as to where those guns came from, who they bought them from, who is bringing them up from those different states down south, and we do long-term investigations for those. We also will do the one-off arrests and prosecutions of gun possession on the street. We have about 2,000 to 3,000 gun cases going on at once here at the Queens DA's office. The other side of it is the ghost guns. Out of all of the ghost guns that are taken out of the streets citywide, Queens County is responsible for over 30% of those ghost guns that are found citywide. And that's because I hired what's called a crime strategy unit. It's now a bureau. They've gotten promoted. And they spend their days finding those individuals that will buy parts of the guns on the internet or buy kits of guns, build them in the basement of their homes or the apartment right next door to one of your viewers, and build those guns.
Now, that's the after the fact, meaning, once already bought it and then trying to assemble it, and your team is up to the task. So they track down those things. And I'm sure communication is one of those things they are also tracing back. But how do you prevent those people who are selling it to stop selling those kind of things? I know it's easier said than done, but are there any measures in place?
Well, our numbers show that it's working, right? When murder is 40% lower in Queens County than it is in the rest of the city, shootings are 12% lower in Queens County than they are in the rest of the city. So that part is working. But I will tell you that I also, there's another side of that, right? When a young person or a person buying a gun never sees the inside of a courtroom, that's a good thing, right? So we go out into the community and we educate. I hired a man who 100% of his job is keeping young people out of the courtroom. He's in the high schools, he's in the middle schools, he's educating, he's doing explorer programs. I go out to a lot of the community events. The first time a young person sees a district attorney should not be when I'm coming to get them. The first time a young person sees a district attorney is when I'm trying to keep them out of the courtroom to begin with, right? So you have to deal, in answer to your question directly, you have to deal with the market. And the market, people who want to buy the guns, as opposed to people that want to sell the guns. Because the less people that want to buy them, the less of an opportunity there will be to sell them.
That is true. But, if there's a demand, there's always, you have consumer and then sellers.
So we hit it from all fronts. First of all, we try to take care of the demand by educating our young people.
Correct.
Then we try to do as many second chance programs as we can. So if you're getting out of jail and you need a step up, we have those types of programs. And when all else fails, if you get caught in my county with a gun, you're going to be prosecuted.
I'm going to come back to the part, and I think that part is very important when you are given a second chance. I think that needs some more elaboration and more detail that I want to hear from you. But let's focus on another topic, which is really hitting us big, fentanyl. It is ravaging young people, families. So what your office is doing specifically to control this. And the other part that I want to add to that is marijuana. I know it's legal now. But I think there are misconception is, we see people randomly selling at the storefront, whether they have permit or not permit, There are people who are abusing it in some others' opinion, not my opinion, because they could be sitting in the corner of the street and the smoking pots. So fentanyl and then marijuana. So let's start with fentanyl.
We have several long-term investigations about fentanyl and trying to stop it coming into this county, and we're actually very successful at that.
Okay.
Fentanyl is a lot cheaper than other drugs because it's synthetic, right? And what I mean by synthetic is it doesn't have to be grown.
Right.
It's not a natural product. It is a chemical product that someone can just make. And so therefore, it is very attractive to those that are selling drugs. I will tell you that 70% of the overdoses in Queens County are fentanyl related. Let me say that again. 70% of the overdoses in Queens County, period, all overdoses, are fentanyl related. I will also tell you a very interesting statistic. 50% of the overdoses in Queens County are over the age of 50.
Really?
50% are over the age of 50.
So you're saying more adults who are towards that, mature end of
not
their
more,
life.
but half are over the age of 50 are the ones who are dying
That's
of
an
overdoses.
interesting-
And I'm going to tell you why. Fentanyl is a product that can be put into any drug. So in other words, you are hooked on oxycodone because you had a leg injury or a knee injury. You're no longer able to get a prescription, so you buy it from the street. Therefore, the pill looks exactly like the one your doctor prescribed. And it does, looks exactly like it. However, it was made in some warehouse in Long Island City.
Of course.
And it was laced with fentanyl because fentanyl is cheaper and it gives you a different type of high, and you are taking that. And so we need to be careful. It's not just the younger people. It's also the pills that look like they are just from the pharmacy.
Yeah.
But they are not.
Okay. And I want our viewers to understand this. When you are buying drugs, not from pharmacy, online, really be careful because you don't know what you're getting. First of all, it's not coming from a legitimate source. It's not coming from a pharmacy. It's not prescribed from a doctor. If it is too good to be true, it is. Because if it's 50% or 60% cheap, what Melinda Katz is saying, that you need to look out for this. Staying on fentanyl, what would be your advice for the viewers and everybody in Queens? What would be your advice? There are two groups, the younger people who are watching you, the parents who are watching you. What's your advice for them?
Well, I think that if you need help or your child needs help, there are so many not-for-profits that are out there that are willing to help you get off of any drug addiction there is. I will give a special message to the young people, however. The special message is that these pot shops that are on the street, they are not vetted. In other words, right now it is legal in some stores because they are vetted by the state of New York. And in other words, they're tested, they pay taxes, they get a license from the state of New York. There's only a few of them in the city of New York.
Correct.
And they are vetted. So their product is not fentanyl, it's not another product. It's actually cannabis. It is what they are purporting it to be.
Yeah.
If you buy pot from a corner store or a truck, so we've taken a lot of the trucks off the street.
Correct.
In Astoria, we've taken 3 trucks off the street. We've taken a truck off of Far Rockaway. We've done one in Flushing, all of whom are selling what they claim to be as pot. And they're marketing to the young people. In other words, you could buy gummy bears. You could buy Nerds. They're called N-E-R-D-Z. And they put it on the package.
One of those small bars.
Right. And they're small little, I don't know, we used to call them chiclets or for sweet tarts and stuff like that.
Like a Mike and Ike.
And they claim to be cannabis. And then a lot of times they aren't, or a lot of times they are. But either way, you need to make sure that you know that you may not be getting what you think you're paying for. We had a school where some of the young people were buying from one of the shops on the corner and they got ill during the day because there was a bacteria in the gummy bears. And I think that's important for people to realize. And when parents call me and they say, hey, they bought it from this shop and they're underage, they didn't even check the ID. Well, of course they're not checking for ID. They're illegal shops. We are going after those shops. We have focused on the ones that are around the schools.
Right.
And we are focusing with the sheriff to shutting them down.
Let's focus on a different topic, retail store theft. We know it's been on the news everywhere. We know a big retailer, one or two, I'm not going to mention names, have closed down 9 stores in New York State, 1 or 2 in Queens, because of the theft. What do you think why it happened, number one? Number two is, what can your office do to safeguard these stores so they stay in a business? Because if they stay in a business, it helps the community. It's tax dollars to New York City and state, and also gives us confidence that we are not in anarchy. So whatever steps have you taken, we want to hear about this, and also, are they really working?
You know, it's funny. I can talk to you about the fact that murder's gone down 11% citywide and 58% in Queens. Shootings have gone down 24% citywide and 37% in Queens. Right. We can talk about all those stats, but the truth is, if you are in a drugstore and you have to push the button for a retail person to come and get you your toothpaste out of a locked cabinet, and then you're standing online ready to pay the bill because you're a good citizen and that's what you're doing. And then someone walks in with a knapsack, fills it up, and walks out. Right. To you, crime is at 100%.
Of course.
Right? And it gives a feeling and a sense that we're not controlling our world around us. Yeah. So in Queens County, I instituted what's called the trespass affidavit. So that does not replace an arrest for shoplifting, and it does not replace an arrest for assault or robbery or anything like that. But what it does is the revolving door. The person that comes back right after they shoplift, right, now they can be given a trespass affidavit without doing the shoplifting first. Right. And they can be given that, and it's a warning that says, you no longer have the privilege of being in my store. I have a right to withdraw that privilege, to revoke it, and I'm doing so. And the next time you come, you will be arrested. And
so it's kind of like a warning shot.
It's a warning shot for someone who you know is going to come back and do the exact same thing that they just did. And in Queens County, it seems to be working. We now have 266 businesses that have registered with the police department. We have handed out 152 trespass affidavits, and out of those 152 trespass affidavits, only 14 individuals returned to the same store, and they were arrested. Okay. And when they were arrested, we were able to vet them for drug rehabilitation, mental health illness, and so we're also able to help them not come back and repeat the same crimes.
And I think that's really more important. The repeating, if it becomes a revolving door, it's a serious problem. Let's focus on domestic violence. We know October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I know this is not one of those things that your office particularly are involved in it when it comes to providing service, but when it comes to law and order, domestic violence is one of those key things that you look into it. Your office also pays special attention to it. So unfortunately, there are a few things in these cases. What happens is people are abused and they don't speak up. They tolerate and then take it for years, months. At one point they break when everything is falling apart kind of thing. And then the other part is when a false accusation also can happen. What can you share with our viewers specifically on domestic violence front? What's your experience? What would be your advice, especially for women?
Well, first of all, we deal quite a bit with the services involved in domestic violence. We work very closely with the family.
Thanks for correcting me.
No, it's okay. I just want your viewers to know right? Because I'm right now in their homes.
Correct.
And so I'm sitting here. It's not a recording. It's not a video. Right. It's not, it's a video, but it's not a text message. It's not an email. Right. And I'm assuring your viewers that if they call us for help, they're going to get help. We have a domestic violence hotline, 718-286-4410, 718-286-4410. When you call that hotline, you can ask for either services, and we'll transfer you to Safe Horizons and to our center that does the services, or you can ask for an ADA. Oh. Because you want to look to prosecute or look to press charges. But what we don't want people to do is feel like they're trapped to the point where their world is going to blow up if they ask for help.
Correct.
Right? We want to make sure that they know we are here, I am here. If someone needs help, they can call my office and get the assistance they need. And we will follow your lead on how to help you. But you should never be afraid to ask for that assistance.
We talked about something that I'm going to bring it up to you in the past, but briefly. But with the current international politics and situation, we have been seeing that people are worried about hate crimes, whether they're religious belief, whether the color of skin. I know you've been very proactive. Your office has been very proactive on this one and doing everything possible they can. What are the steps that you are taking to prevent this from happening? What would be their steps if they are one of those victims?
So first, your viewers should know that a hate crime is a specific type of crime, right? So it's not that you get into a car accident with somebody and they're insulting in different ways. A hate crime is because someone targets you for your ethnic background, your religion, gender, who you love. Those are specific protected status crimes.
Right.
And so those are hate crimes if you are attacked because of one of those reasons. In Queens County, you're held accountable for that. We don't, this is what we do here. We are 190 countries and we are 200 languages. We get along here because we respect each other's religion and ethnic background. And it is so important that that happens here. I did it as borough president. I do it now as the DA, now with the authority and the power to hold people accountable for committing those hate crimes. And nothing has changed for that with me.
I'll tell you a funny story. It's not a story, it's a true statement. I was talking to somebody, and domestic violence victim. At one point she said, I told such and such that if he does this again, I will contact Melinda Katz office. It caught me off guard because, she knew your name. So I'm sure that, it is part your activities, part our programmings also. But I think your activity is more so than anything else. But how do you feel about that? How do you, when somebody, a person you never met, says, hey, I'm going to call our office. I know I can get some help. How does that make you feel?
Well, it gives me pride that at least people know that I will stand up for them. And I think that's very important for a district attorney to get across. In a county of such diversity, and in a county where 49% of our residents who filled out the census were born in another country and decided not to make the United States their home, not to make New York State their home. They decided to make Queens County their home. So 49% of our residents were born somewhere else and decided to put their faith into this borough. I think that's amazing. And I would like to think that they know it's because they can pray however they want. They can speak in the language they want. They can dress everything without getting attacked and not being pinpointed for that. And if they are, they know that I will hold that person accountable.
A thriving community needs good law and order and good administrator. Having said that, we also know there are many times, a wrongfully convicted person stays behind bars, serves times, and then later at some point we figure out that person was innocent. So what your office is doing for those incidents, I'm saying incidents, but I think it's a lot more than that because it's not an incident. It's a huge impact on the person's life who's wrongfully convicted. What are you doing for that? What are your pathways? What are the steps to figure out those things? And at the same time, you talked about in the beginning of our discussion that there are people who need a second chance, an opportunity to fix them, go back into the society and contribute in a positive way. So I want you to tell us both the wrongful conviction and not going back to the way they were, and what are your offices doing in terms of what are the steps that person's or at his disposal that they can utilize to get somewhere.
Just last month, we vacated our 100th, 101st, and 102nd wrongful conviction here in, out of many. Yeah. There are still many more to go. Anybody who is in prison can go online. They can make an application to what's called my conviction integrity
I think
units.
You need to, this part, everybody needs to hear on camera. If you can repeat this, I'm sorry to interrupt. I think this is very, very important. So again.
Folks who are imprisoned or their lawyers can go online and make an application to the Conviction Integrity Unit to have their case reviewed. A lot of the cases that we vacated are 20, 30 years old. They're not usually in an appellate process posture. They're usually very old. We have vacated about 18 or 19 of them after a year's investigation, 30 witnesses and hundreds of thousands of documents. People who either have DNA evidence that we have new ways of looking at now, or someone recanted their testimony from before. So it's all based on new evidence.
Right.
But we also vacated 86 convictions because they were based on police officers' testimony who later on were convicted of perjury or falsification of documents.
That's really tough to do from your point of view because it's your own people in terms of, but go on, please.
I have to have faith in the convictions that this office stands by. And if a conviction was based on someone's testimony, like a police officer who was later convicted for these crimes, that show that they have a willingness to lie, we vacated those.
As far as going, giving a second chance for a person who not only wrongfully, because if you're convicted wrongfully, your records are everywhere. Your life is ruined. It's very difficult even to get a job. So how does that person go about, removing himself or herself from these records? Is there any process for that?
So right now, if you have nonviolent crimes that are over 10 years old, one misdemeanor and one felony, it can't be really more than that.
Right.
You actually can get those records sealed when it comes to employment.
Right.
They're not sealed from us, so that if you get caught again, we can see it. But from an employment perspective, you can get them sealed. You make an application to the state. We usually help you. And then we get to review it. Normally we send it to the judge, and that will normally happen. Second chance, though, we also work with not-for-profits. There's different not-for-profits out there, 100 Suits, Life Camp, Rockaway. So there's these organizations that help people get suits, learn how to interview, and make sure that there are resources available for second chance.
So, Melinda Katz, again, really am thankful for your time, and really thankful that your work, your office has been doing phenomenal work. The crime is going down, murder cases going down. Things are getting better. Theft, you have proactive progressions, and we will see what's the outcome of this. And with that, I want to send a message to our viewers, and then we will end the program. Viewers, আপনারা যারা অনুষ্ঠানটি দেখছিলেন, Melinda Katz office is doing everything they can. As you heard, that the number of deaths went down, number of crimes has gone down. Many things went. That's because not only punishment, but proactive actions from her and her office and the programs they are running. So we will be coming back again with Melinda Katz in future time, and I'm sure we will hear better news. She talked about many things. She talked about theft. She talked about domestic violence. She talked about how to overturn convictions. And if you're watching, paying attention, she also mentioned some of the phone numbers. You should utilize this. I hope you utilize this and really get the benefit of it. Melinda Katz, once again, before I let you go, your last message, if anything, for our viewers who are watching.
We're here. I have an entire staff who's here to serve. Whether it's you're worried about your young person, your son, getting into the wrong group, wrong group of friends, and you want maybe an internship program, or you feel like an Explorer program might be helpful, or you are in the middle of a domestic violence issue, we are here. And, this office that used to be sort of always responsive, now we try to be affirmative and we try to make sure we're in the community. So please let us know how we can help.
As always, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I hope to see you sometime soon, and we'll talk again.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much for what you do.
দর্শক, এই ছিল আজকের TBN স্পেশাল। আশা করি অনুষ্ঠানটি আপনাদের ভালো লেগেছে। জানাবেন এবং যে সমস্ত তথ্য তুলে ধরলাম সেগুলো ব্যবহার করবেন। It will help you to get better help. Melinda Katz and her office is here to help you. Good night.
TBN 24 টেলিভিশন দেখতে আজই কল করুন 7187776556। লগ ইন করুন www.totalcablebd.com।
নিউ ইয়র্ক থেকে সম্প্রচারিত TBN 24 টেলিভিশন বিশ্বজুড়ে বাঙালির কণ্ঠস্বর।